There are songs you've heard 100 times, songs that topped the charts, launched careers, and became part of music history. But hidden behind some of those records is a name you never expected to find. Michael Jackson wasn't just the king of pop. He was one of the music industry's most generous and mysterious collaborators. While the world watched him break records with Thriller and Bad, he was quietly writing, producing, and shaping songs that other artists would call their own. Welcome to R&B ZOOM, where we uncover the untold stories behind the greatest music ever made. Number 12. This Had to Be, The Brothers Johnson, 1980. By 1980, the Brothers Johnson were already funk royalty. George and Louis Johnson had built a reputation as two of the tightest musicians in the business, blending funk, soul, and jazz into chart-topping hits. At the same time, Michael Jackson had just transformed his career with Off the Wall, and producer Quincy Jones saw an opportunity to bring these creative forces together. Michael co-wrote This Had to Be for the Brothers Johnson's Light Up the Night album. It wasn't released as a major single, which is exactly why so many fans overlook it today. Listen closely, though, and you'll hear Michael's fingerprints everywhere, from the melodic phrasing to the rhythmic vocal arrangement. His uncredited background vocals blend seamlessly into the song, supporting rather than overshadowing the group. What made this collaboration special wasn't commercial success. It was mutual respect. Michael admired the Johnson brothers as musicians, particularly bassist Louis Johnson, whose groove and precision had already made him one of the most sought-after session players in America. Rather than trying to dominate the session, Michael worked as an equal, exchanging ideas and helping craft a song that fit the brothers' distinctive style. The story came full circle just a few years later. When Michael began recording Thriller, Louis Johnson returned the favor by playing the unforgettable bass line on Billie Jean. One overlooked album track became part of a creative partnership that helped shape one of the greatest albums ever recorded. Sometimes, the biggest musical moments begin long before the world is paying attention. Number 11, Muscles, Diana Ross, 1982. Diana Ross had already become a legend long before 1982. She had conquered Motown with the Supremes, built a successful solo career, and become one of the most recognizable voices in the world. But the music industry was changing fast. MTV was reshaping pop culture. Younger artists were emerging, and Diana needed a record that felt modern without sacrificing her identity. That's when Michael Jackson stepped in. Not as a featured artist, but as the creative force behind one of her most memorable 80s hits. Michael didn't just write Muscles, he also produced the record and quietly recorded uncredited background vocals. According to Michael himself, the song's title came from his pet boa constrictor named Muscles, a quirky detail that has become one of the most fascinating pieces of Jackson trivia. The lyrics playfully describe a woman dreaming of the perfect muscular man, making the song flirtatious, theatrical, and unmistakably rooted in early 1980s pop and R&B. It was a bold direction for Diana, and Michael carefully tailored every vocal run to fit her elegant delivery. Released as the lead single from Diana Ross's Silk Electric album, Muscles became an international hit. It reached number 10 on the Billboard Hot 100. climbed to number 4 on the Billboard R&B chart, and earned Diana Ross a Grammy nomination for Best Female R&B Vocal Performance. Although MTV initially gave limited exposure to many black artists during that era, the song thrived on black radio stations, BET, and dance floors across America. Michael's production blended polished pop with soulful grooves, giving Diana one of the biggest hits of her RCA years. The collaboration also revealed something deeply personal about Michael Jackson. He often spoke of Diana Ross as someone who believed in him from childhood, and writing Muscles was his way of giving something back. Instead of chasing another hit for himself, he invested his creativity in helping a lifelong friend remain relevant during one of the most competitive periods in pop music. Decades later, Muscles remains a fan favorite, not only because of its infectious groove, but because it captures two music icons lifting each other to even greater heights. Number 10. Centipede. Rebbie Jackson, 1984. For years, Rebbie Jackson watched history unfold from the sidelines. As the oldest of the Jackson siblings, she had put music on hold while raising her family, even as her younger brothers and sisters became international stars. By 1984, however, she was finally ready to step into the spotlight. Michael Jackson, fresh off the unprecedented success of Thriller, could have been consumed by his own career. Instead, he chose to invest his time and talent in helping his sister realize a dream decades in the making. Michael personally wrote and produced Centipede as Rebbie's debut single. From the moment the eerie synthesizers begin, the song sounds unmistakably like a Michael Jackson production. His signature vocal arrangements, dramatic rhythm changes, and layered harmonies are everywhere. Michael even sang uncredited background vocals throughout the record, while powerhouse singers Martha Wash and Azora Rhodes of the Weather Girls added additional backing vocals. The result was a haunting blend of funk, pop, and R&B that sounded unlike anything else on radio in late 1984. When Centipede was released in September 1984, audiences immediately took notice. The single climbed to number 24 on the Billboard Hot 100, reached number 4 on the Billboard Hot Black Singles chart, and earned a gold certification from the RIA. For Rebbie Jackson, it wasn't just a successful debut, it was proof that she could stand on her own as an artist. While some listeners were drawn in by Michael's unmistakable influence, many stayed because Rebbie's confident vocal performance gave the song its own identity. Perhaps the most fascinating mystery surrounding Centipede is Michael's handwritten dedication in the album credits, "I dedicate this song to my mannequin friends." To this day, no one has offered a definitive explanation for what he meant, adding another layer of intrigue to one of the strangest notes in his songwriting career. More importantly, Centipede showed that Michael didn't reserve his best work only for himself. When someone he loved believed in a dream, he was willing to give them a song that many artists would have kept for their own album. It was generosity wrapped inside one of the most unforgettable grooves of the 1980s. Number 9. Nighttime Lover. LaToya Jackson, 1980. Long before Michael Jackson became the biggest entertainer on the planet, he was already looking for ways to help those closest to him succeed. In 1980, while Off the Wall was still climbing the charts and transforming his career, his older sister LaToya Jackson was preparing to release her self-titled debut album. Breaking away from the enormous shadow of the Jackson family wasn't going to be easy. Every move would be compared to her famous brothers, and expectations were sky high. Michael understood that pressure better than anyone.
With your one touch, you
For LaToya's debut, Michael co-wrote and produced Nighttime Lover, one of the album's standout tracks. The song actually has an interesting history. Before LaToya recorded it, Michael and LaToya had developed an earlier version called Fire is the Feeling, which had been considered for Donna Summer. That version was never officially released by Summer, giving LaToya the opportunity to make the song her own. Michael didn't simply hand over the composition. He helped shape the production and added his unmistakable background vocals. Listen carefully, and you'll hear his voice weaving through the chorus, creating the polished harmony that had already become his trademark. Although Nighttime Lover wasn't a major commercial hit, it demonstrated Michael's willingness to put his growing superstardom aside to support another artist. At a time when he could have focused entirely on building his own legacy, he spent valuable studio time helping launch his sister's recording career. The record blended disco, funk, and early 80s pop, reflecting the musical transition taking place after the disco era. Today, it's remembered as one of the hidden gems in the Jackson family catalog and remains a favorite among collectors and longtime fans who appreciate Michael's behind-the-scenes work. Looking back, Nighttime Lover reveals a side of Michael Jackson that often gets overlooked. The headlines focused on his record-breaking albums, sold-out tours, and moonwalks, but behind closed studio doors, he was constantly encouraging others to shine. Not every collaboration became a chart topper, yet Michael believed that every artist deserved the very best he could offer. That generosity would become one of the defining themes of his career, and the next story may be the clearest example of all, because it involved helping his own brother create one of the most memorable collaborations of the 1980s. Number 8. Tell Me I'm Not Dreamin', Too Good to Be True, Jermaine Jackson, 1984. Are we in paradise? Family relationships can be complicated, and for the Jacksons, they often played out in front of the entire world. By 1984, Michael Jackson was the biggest entertainer on the planet thanks to Thriller, while his older brother Jermaine Jackson was rebuilding his solo career after years of success with Motown and later Arista Records. Despite rumors of rivalry and the constant media comparisons, the brothers proved there was still room for collaboration. The result was Tell Me I'm Not Dreamin', Too Good to Be True, a duet that remains one of the finest vocal performances either brother ever recorded together. Like a shadow in the night. Released on Jermaine's album Dynamite, the song featured Michael as a full duet partner, although contractual obligations with Epic Records prevented his name from appearing prominently as a featured artist on the single. Once the music begins, however, there's no mistaking who's singing. Michael's soaring tenor intertwines with Jermaine's rich, soulful voice, creating a call-and-response performance that showcases the chemistry they'd developed since childhood. Rather than competing with one another, the brothers elevated each other's performances, making the record sound like a joyful family reunion captured on tape. Are you with me? Am I here with you? Although the song became a favorite on R&B radio and reached the top 10 of Billboard's Hot Black Singles chart, it faced an unusual obstacle. Because of Michael's exclusive recording contract, the record wasn't eligible for certain pop chart recognition that many industry insiders believed it deserved. Even so, music critics praised the duet, and fans immediately embraced it as one of the rare occasions where the Jackson brothers shared equal billing on a contemporary hit. Decades later, it remains one of the highlights of Jermaine's solo catalog and a reminder of the extraordinary musical bond the brothers shared. Tell me this is real. Tell me how you feel. Yes. More importantly, the song quietly challenged one of the biggest myths surrounding Michael Jackson, that he was unwilling to share the spotlight. Here was the world's biggest superstar, lending his voice to help his brother's album, asking for nothing more than the opportunity to make great music together. It wasn't about headlines or chart positions, it was about family. And if this collaboration proved Michael would always show up for those closest to him, the next story would show him doing the very same thing for the entire world. Number 7. We Are the World, USA for Africa, 1985. January 1985 wasn't just another month in pop music. It became the moment when music proved it could change the world. Television screens were filled with heartbreaking images of famine in Ethiopia, where millions faced starvation. Entertainer and activist Harry Belafonte believed American musicians could do what politicians could not: unite people through music. He reached out to Lionel Richie, who immediately called Michael Jackson. Together, the two began writing what would become one of the most important songs ever recorded, We Are the World. For nearly a week, Michael and Lionel Richie worked side by side at the Jackson family home in Encino, California, refining melodies and rewriting lyrics until every line carried emotional weight. Quincy Jones, who would produce the record, later praised Michael's extraordinary work ethic. According to those present, Michael could hear complete vocal arrangements in his head before anyone else entered the room. His musical instincts shaped much of the song's emotional rise, particularly the unforgettable chorus that millions of people can still sing from memory today. On January 28, 1985, immediately after the American Music Awards, 45 of the biggest names in music gathered at A&M Studios in Hollywood. The guest list read like a Hall of Fame roster: Stevie Wonder, Ray Charles, Diana Ross, Tina Turner, Bruce Springsteen, Bob Dylan, Billy Joel, Cyndi Lauper, Willie Nelson, Kenny Rogers, and many more. Hanging on the studio door was a simple handwritten sign from Quincy Jones: "Check your ego at the door." It perfectly captured the spirit of the evening. For one extraordinary night, fame took a back seat to compassion. Released in March 1985, We Are the World became a worldwide phenomenon. It spent 4 weeks at #1 on the Billboard Hot 100, sold more than 20 million copies worldwide, raised over $60 million for humanitarian relief during its initial campaign, and won Grammy Awards for both Record of the Year and Song of the Year. More than a chart-topping hit, it became a symbol of what music could accomplish when artists worked together for a cause greater than themselves. Michael Jackson didn't simply help write a song, he helped create a global movement whose impact is still felt decades later. Number 6. Say, Say, Say. Paul McCartney featuring Michael Jackson, 1983. Few collaborations in music history have generated as much excitement as the moment Paul McCartney and Michael Jackson walked into the studio together. One was a former Beatle whose songwriting had already changed popular music forever. The other was a young superstar rapidly becoming the biggest entertainer on earth. On paper, it looked like an impossible pairing. In reality, it became one of the greatest pop collaborations ever recorded. While both men shared writing credit, the song revealed just how naturally Michael could create alongside one of his lifelong musical heroes. Say, say, say. The story began in 1981 during sessions for McCartney's Pipes of Peace project at AR Studios in London. The two artists spent days exchanging melodies, finishing lyrics, and building songs from scratch. Unlike his work with Quincy Jones, Michael later recalled that these sessions felt completely different. There was no producer directing the process, just two songwriters sitting together, bouncing ideas back and forth. That creative freedom gave Michael enormous confidence and reinforced his belief that songwriting should always begin with emotion before technique. When Say 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 was finally released in October 1983, it exploded around the world. The single spent 6 consecutive weeks at #1 on the Billboard Hot 100, becoming one of the biggest hits of both artists' careers. Its cinematic music video, directed by Bob Giraldi, featured Michael and Paul portraying charismatic traveling con men in a Depression-era town, blending humor, storytelling, and unforgettable chemistry. MTV played the video heavily, helping introduce millions of viewers to a partnership that crossed generations and musical styles. It remains one of the defining music videos of the decade. Yet the success of Say 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 carries an ironic twist that makes the story even more fascinating. During their friendship, Paul McCartney often spoke to Michael about the value of music publishing and encouraged him to invest in song catalogs. Michael took that advice seriously. In 1985, he purchased the ATV Music Publishing catalog, which included the publishing rights to most of the Beatles' songs, outbidding McCartney in the process. The business decision strained their relationship for years, but it never erased what they created together in the studio. Say 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 remains frozen in time as a joyful reminder of a friendship that produced one of the biggest records of the 1980s, before business changed everything. Number 5. Somebody's Watching Me, Rockwell, 1984. In 1984, almost everyone knew the unmistakable voice singing the chorus of Somebody's Watching Me. What many people didn't realize was that the song didn't belong to Michael Jackson at all. It was the debut single of Rockwell, the stage name of Kennedy Gordy, son of Motown founder Berry Gordy. Launching a career under such a famous family name came with enormous expectations. Rockwell knew he needed something unforgettable to stand out, and one phone call to Michael Jackson would change everything. Although Michael didn't write the song, his contribution transformed it into one of the biggest hits of the decade. Rockwell had already recorded the verses, but the chorus lacked the dramatic impact needed to make the record memorable. Michael agreed to sing the now iconic hook, "I Always Feel Like Somebody's Watching Me," alongside his brother Jermaine Jackson, who also provided background vocals. Michael wasn't paid a fortune, nor did he demand top billing. He simply agreed to help a friend whose family had been part of his own musical journey since childhood. When the single was released in January 1984, it became an instant global sensation. Somebody's Watching Me climbed to #2 on the Billboard Hot 100, reached #1 in several countries, and became one of the defining pop records of the 1980s. Ironically, Michael's chorus was so recognizable that many listeners assumed the entire song belonged to him. Even today, countless fans are surprised to discover that Rockwell, not Michael Jackson, is the lead artist. The unforgettable music video also received heavy rotation on MTV, making it easy to source archival clips for a documentary. The success of Somebody's Watching Me perfectly illustrates Michael Jackson's generosity as a collaborator. He could have easily declined the invitation while preparing for the Victory era and continuing the unprecedented success of Thriller. Instead, he lent his voice to another artist without trying to steal the spotlight. His brief appearance turned a promising single into a timeless classic and gave Rockwell a career-defining hit that continues to receive radio play more than 4 decades later. Sometimes Michael didn't need to write the song to completely change its destiny. Number 4, What's Up Witu? Eddie Murphy featuring Michael Jackson, 1993. Most people know Eddie Murphy as one of Hollywood's greatest comedians. What many forget is that during the 1980s and early 90s, Murphy was also chasing a music career. After surprising critics with his hit Party All the Time, produced by Rick James, Murphy wanted to prove he was more than a celebrity making novelty records. For his second album, Love's All Right, he reached out to one of his closest friends, Michael Jackson. What happened next became one of the most unexpected collaborations of Michael's career. Michael didn't write What's Up Witu, but his involvement completely transformed the project. He agreed to sing a full duet with Murphy, bringing his unmistakable vocals, harmonies, and star power to the record. At the time, Michael was one of the most famous people on earth, preparing for the dangerous era and selling out stadiums worldwide. Yet he still made time to help a friend whose musical ambitions were often dismissed by critics. Their chemistry in the studio was genuine, built on years of friendship and mutual respect rather than commercial strategy. Released in 1993, What's Up Witu became almost as famous for its surreal music video as it did for the song itself. Directed by Wayne Isham, the video featured oversized sunflowers, giant smiling faces, cartoon-inspired visual effects, and bright dreamlike landscapes unlike anything else on MTV. Today, the video has become something of a cult classic. While critics at the time didn't know what to make of it, modern audiences often celebrate it as one of the most bizarre and entertaining videos Michael Jackson ever appeared in outside his own catalog. Best of all, the full music video and numerous behind-the-scenes clips are readily available on YouTube, making it ideal for a documentary. Looking back, What's Up Witu perfectly captures a side of Michael Jackson that rarely makes headlines. He wasn't motivated solely by chart success. He genuinely enjoyed collaborating with people he admired, whether they were global superstars or close personal friends exploring new creative territory. The song may not have topped the charts, but it showcased Michael's loyalty, generosity, and willingness to experiment. Sometimes his greatest collaborations weren't measured by awards. They were measured by the friendships that inspired them. Number 3. Eaten Alive, Diana Ross, 1985. By 1985, Diana Ross had already spent more than 20 years at the top of the music industry. She had conquered Motown, become an Academy Award-nominated actress, and built one of the greatest careers in entertainment history. But the mid-1980s brought a new challenge. Pop music was changing rapidly, MTV was dominating television, and a younger generation of artists was taking over the charts. Determined to reinvent herself once again, Diana assembled one of the most extraordinary creative teams ever seen in a recording studio. Standing beside her were Michael Jackson, Barry Gibb, and Maurice Gibb of the Bee Gees. On paper, it looked like a guaranteed masterpiece. Michael Jackson co-wrote Eaten Alive with Barry and Maurice Gibb, while also contributing background vocals and creative production ideas. Even though Diana remained the star of the record, Michael's unmistakable vocal style can be heard throughout the chorus and harmonies. His signature rhythmic phrasing, layered vocal arrangements, and dramatic energy helped shape the song into something unlike anything Diana had previously recorded. It wasn't simply another collaboration. It was three of pop music's greatest creative minds attempting to reinvent one of the industry's biggest legends. Released as the title track of Diana Ross's Eaten Alive album, expectations couldn't have been higher. While the single didn't dominate the Billboard Hot 100 as many predicted, it found success on the R&B and dance club charts and became especially popular internationally. Over time, the song developed a loyal following among fans who appreciated its bold production and theatrical style. The striking music video, featuring Diana in a mysterious jungle-inspired setting, became a staple on music television and remains widely available on YouTube today, giving documentary filmmakers plenty of memorable visuals to work with. Looking back, Eaten Alive tells a fascinating story about Michael Jackson's approach to collaboration. He wasn't afraid to take creative risks, even when success wasn't guaranteed. At the height of his own superstardom, he dedicated his time to helping another icon explore a completely new musical direction. Not every collaboration becomes a #1 hit, but every collaboration teaches a lesson. In this case, Michael proved that true artistry isn't about protecting a perfect record, it's about pushing creative boundaries, supporting fellow legends, and never being afraid to try something different. Number 2. Someone Put Your Hand Out. Pepsi promotional single, 1992. / Julian Lennon. Demo history. Not every great Michael Jackson song was meant for Michael Jackson. Some were written with another artist in mind. Others were quietly handed away before fans ever knew they existed. One of the most fascinating examples is Someone Put Your Hand Out, a song Michael originally developed with songwriter Teddy Riley and longtime collaborator Brian Loren during the Dangerous era. Although Michael eventually recorded his own version as an exclusive promotional release for Pepsi in Europe, the song's journey reveals how often he created music with other artists in mind before deciding where it truly belonged. During the early 1990s, Michael was writing dozens of songs simultaneously, far more than could ever fit on one album. Producers who worked with him often recalled that he would finish complete compositions, only to place them in a growing vault of unreleased material or offer them to other performers whose voices inspired him. This creative process wasn't unusual for Michael. He believed that every song had a perfect home, even if that home wasn't always one of his own albums. His generosity as a songwriter meant many ideas circulated privately among artists and producers long before the public heard them. When Someone Put Your Hand Out finally surfaced in 1992, it wasn't sold in record stores like a traditional single. Instead, it became a special promotional release through Pepsi's European campaign, making it one of the rarest songs in Michael's catalog. Because of its limited distribution, generations of fans never knew it existed until years later, when collectors began sharing the track online. Today, studio recordings, promotional commercials, and archival footage are widely available on YouTube, giving modern audiences a chance to appreciate one of Michael's overlooked gems and the fascinating story behind its unusual release. The legacy of Someone Put Your Hand Out isn't measured by chart positions, but by what it reveals about Michael Jackson's creative mind. He never approached songwriting as a race to release as many singles as possible. Instead, he treated every composition as a living piece of art, willing to reshape it, shelve it, or even let someone else bring it to life if he believed it served the music. That relentless pursuit of perfection explains why so many remarkable songs remained hidden for years, and why Michael's influence extended far beyond the records that bore his own name. Number 1. Why? 3T featuring Michael Jackson, 1995. By 1995, Michael Jackson had nothing left to prove. He had shattered sales records, redefined music videos, and become the most recognizable entertainer on earth. Yet behind the scenes, he was thinking less about his own success and more about the future of the Jackson family's musical legacy. That future rested with 3T, his nephews Taj, Terrell, and TJ Jackson, the sons of Tito Jackson. Rather than simply opening doors for them with his famous name, Michael wanted to give them something far more valuable, a timeless song that would allow the world to hear their talent. The result was Why, one of the most heartfelt collaborations of his entire career. Michael co-wrote Why with legendary songwriter and producer Babyface, whose emotional ballads had already become the soundtrack to the 1990s. Together, they crafted a tender love song built around soaring harmonies, heartfelt lyrics, and a melody that showcased every singer involved. Michael didn't just stay behind the scenes as a songwriter. He stepped into the studio and recorded the duet alongside 3T, blending his unmistakable voice with his nephew's harmonies. Instead of overpowering them, he carefully balanced the arrangement so listeners could appreciate 3T as artists in their own right. It was a masterclass in collaboration, with Michael acting as both performer and mentor. Released as the second single from 3T's debut album, Brotherhood Y became one of the group's biggest international successes. The song reached the top 10 in several European countries, including number 2 in the United Kingdom, introducing millions of listeners to 3T, while reminding audiences of Michael's extraordinary ability to elevate everyone around him. The beautifully produced music video, featuring Michael and his nephews performing together, received heavy airplay on television and remains widely available on YouTube today. Watching them sing side by side, it's impossible to miss the genuine affection between uncle and nephews. This wasn't a publicity stunt. It was family making music together. More than any chart position or award, Y represents the side of Michael Jackson that the public didn't always get to see. He believed that true greatness wasn't measured by standing alone at the top. It was measured by lifting others as you climbed. Whether he was writing for Diana Ross, producing for Rebbie Jackson, collaborating with the brothers Johnson, or helping launch 3T onto the world stage, Michael consistently used his gifts to create opportunities for others. That's why his legacy extends far beyond the songs that bear his own name. His greatest masterpiece wasn't simply a catalog of unforgettable hits. It was the countless artists whose careers were forever changed because Michael Jackson chose to believe in them.